Drake he's pushing the Kendrick train another 5 or 10 miles per hour than it would normally be going because of what he's doing. Anything he does, he's a superstar, right? The light go, okay, what is that? What is that about? That's tied to what? That, okay, oh. And now it pushes Kendrick even more.
In the midst of what is unquestionably one of the greatest victory laps we have ever witnessed, Kendrick Lamar swept the Grammys with Not Like Us and demonstrated that his participation in the biggest battle in rap history has genuinely impacted the direction of music. Drake has reportedly returned to the ring just as the industry has officially acknowledged Kendrick as the man that is advancing hip-hop more than we have ever seen. And nobody seems to be pleased regarding it. Instead of his usual cryptic posts, he is simply moaning or even becoming more pitiful, and he is sending out more paperwork. Given the low standard Drake has set, we can never rule that out at this time. At last, Drake has made a decision to stop sitting around moping like the worst loser in history. He has revealed that his new album, which is his first since For All the Dogs, will be out very soon. With this record, which also happens to be a collaboration with his OVO artist PartyNextDoor, we have never seen a greater display of what hip-hop is about on the highest level possible. From the announcement of the album, with the trailer they released to the snippet they teased, it manages to join records like CLB and For All the Dogs as further evidence that Drake is simply becoming more mature over time. Overall, in an era when the music industry has never been more competitive, especially with Kendrick Lamar's situation, we have never seen a more significant example of what hip-hop is about. What's more obvious is that no one is interested in this new Drake album, except from realizing what a complete flop it would be. But before we elaborate on how big of a mess this will all be for Drake, please remember to subscribe and like this post. Thus, after all of the whining and embarrassing things Drake has done since taking the worst L we have ever seen in really anything, he is releasing music at a time when the pressure has never been higher. This is evident in the release of his new album with PartyNextDoor, which, due to its length, overstatement, and immaturity, is only going to end up being called SSS by people. Simultaneously, we are witnessing Kendrick Lamar take his reputation in hip-hop to new heights with the Grammy sweep, the Super Bowl, and whatever else stands in the way of his future success. There will be a type of rematch between Drake and Kendrick when they return to the outdoors, but they will no longer be rapping back and forth since it is over, and Kendrick has more than won. In this new chapter between them, however, we will simply be witnessing the results of one's labor, as we have already seen with Kendrick's Grammys, which broke records, and will continue to see when he performs at the Super Bowl. In this case, the other one is Drake, and we will see how much he has lost already. Now that he has taken the biggest blow in hip-hop history and distanced himself from Kendrick's current success as much as possible, he is attempting to halt the greatest run of a single from a rapper of this caliber by releasing a collaborative album that seems to be about to contain some of his most uninteresting and lazy work to date. I don't know what this guy could be thinking, all things considered, when you consider the context of Drake's new album. He has never looked worse after losing to Kendrick Lamar, and the actions he has taken to try to exact revenge on him with Not Like Us. And his label have also caused the music industry to move on from him. Since Drake is one of the worst label heads in hip-hop history, he has decided that the album that will save his career will be a collaboration with an artist who should have become a star but never did. This has led Drake to turn to the last thing he has left, which is music, rather than writing his best bars in years, working on that pen game, doing something special, or simply returning to the feel that made his earlier album successes in the first place. Furthermore, aside from the fact that it is too late for us to finally get this album, because if anything, it should have come out years ago based on the snippet. This isn't anything new or innovative, and we are just listening to the same old whiny Drake over the same stale and washed out production. This only serves to confirm all the issues we are already seeing with this album, and its absurd title simply shows that Drake is somehow making the presentation of his music even more ridiculous than it has been for the previous few albums. which is obviously a lot. Therefore, at a time when all of Drake's rivals and competitors are achieving new heights, extending their sound, and pushing the boundaries of how fans can even experience their music, whether it's Kendrick Lamar, who is on a run unlike anything we have seen from a rapper, or even another well-known artist who has been at odds with Drake, such as The Weeknd, who has managed to reinvent himself and find more success with his new album, Hurry Up Tomorrow. This is because Drake is now following up one of the best and most successful blockbuster rap albums we have seen in a long time with GNX, and an early album of the year standout in The Weeknd's project, with music that sounds like it was left over from the second half of For All the Dogs, which when compared to that shows how low the bar is overall. For the first time ever, the response to Drake announcing a new album has been almost non-existent, as the entire music community has been quiet about it. This is because there's no way that this album will give us the version of him that is adding anything new or interesting that we should care about. And now people are just bored of all of Drake's same old antics and underwhelmed by the snippet we heard from him. Since Kendrick Lamar is now driving rap music ahead, I believe I speak for everyone when I say that we don't want to return to the same old dull things that were causing rap to decline in every way prior to this beef. And really, the lesson Drake will be learning from this project is that even though he still believes he can come with this same old minimal music and have it recognized on the level of his older records, it's just not going to happen at this point, because the music industry has evolved in every possible direction. Now, this is true for the entirety of Drake's album, for which the bar is already so low for everything this record is set up to do, which is not much. Regardless of whether we consider rap and Kendrick's success or go further and consider artists like The Weeknd or Bad Bunny, the competition is simply too fierce, and the records each of those artists has released are not only too successful to compete with, but Drake no longer has the industry connections to support this record and ensure that it performs in a particular manner, because he has managed to enrage the people who initially made him a star. I mean, this record's impact and performance will be terrible. Not only is Drake attempting to recover from the musical setback that Kendrick gave him, but he is also attempting to convince his label that he is worth whatever enormous sum he thinks he is, because no one has the same influence as him. If this is what Drake is bringing to the table, then this man truly has far too much self-confidence, because he has a record like this, which as of right now isn't going to advance anything, which will only serve to confirm the rumors that his career is dead and that he will never be the same after this feud. Needless to say, all of this will hasten the decline we are witnessing, as Drake's reputation as an artist will plummet to an all-time low in terms of the industry's perceived value. The fact that Drake released this album with PND on Valentine's Day, which ironically may have worked years ago, now feels so cheesy, pointless, and forced, especially since the fans who even convinced Drake that he could appeal to this whole vibe have long since left, because Drake no longer produces that kind of music and targets that demographic. If you look at Drake's entire catalog and see how he has somehow regressed with his most recent albums, you'll see that he has lost a lot of his core fans, because his last projects have been as bad and immature as, say, For All the Dogs. And this is the reason why so many people no longer care about what Drake has to offer. Since he has never demonstrated progress to his audience, he's not like Kendrick or many other musicians. Drake's decision to return with this project is very odd, and will not only hurt him because he dropped this album at a time when it no longer makes sense on all levels, and when he recently lost the biggest rap feud in history. He is also trying to salvage his career in any way he can, because he truly lost everything. Even more so, the industry as a whole will be in a lot of trouble, because the people who made sure that all of Drake's previous albums still did well enough now have no gall or priority whatsoever to make this thing look good. This is because people are tired of hearing the same old boring, immature Drake, which again just shows the lack of self-awareness and was one of the reasons Kendrick won the beef in the way he did. They truly want to see the complete opposite of what they had before, given how ashamed he is now and how he disagreed with them. It feels like a joke, really, that Drake released this album and is so divorced from what people want. Because As I've said before, you can't be this detached from reality and still fail to connect with the audiences on a fundamental level. I mean, with Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl performance and whatever else he has planned coming up right before this, as well as the fact that GNXEL's physical copies are shipping out that week, and that the Super Bowl always boosts artists' catalogs across everything. Does Drake really think that this little collab record he is dropping will help him at a time when Kendrick will never have more hype surrounding him? As things stand right now, Drake's first week will be a loss to GNXI, and everything will be fine after week 10 of its release. And now that we are at this point, with the hype for Drake's record really low, it feels like we are going to realize just how much this man has lost it. In this round 2, we will see both Drake and Kendrick continue their musical careers at the same time, with Drake recording a brand new album that we will call SSS, and Kendrick reaching new heights. The world will therefore undoubtedly understand more than ever why Drake's career is over and why Kendrick is simultaneously rising up the all-time ranks when it's all said and done with half of this record's worth of material, where we will once again see how he has never learned from his mistakes in this beef. In light of everything mentioned above, what are your thoughts on Drake and PartyNextDoor releasing this new album? How do you think it will perform? And what kind of effect do you think this record will ultimately have on Drake's overall career? I'm eager to hear your thoughts, so please give the video a like and subscribe if you've watched it all the way through. Check out the suggested video if you want to witness how, at the same time that Drake and PartyNextDoor announced this album that no one cares about, Kendrick Lamar had such a historic Grammys performance. He didn't just embarrass Drake, his dominance scared Drake into fully confirming the album, which will only worsen his downfall in the long term.